I'm curious how Millen is gonna play this out. It'll be fun.
It's a completely different podcast. Like he's
I
all
don't
right,
know.
good job.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling it's not really going to be up to me.
Hey, you're right.
We hear it later.
Who let the
it's
dogs
two
out?
totally different people. He just brought two people in. You two, what was on the street? Record with me.
Episode 3 comes out and you're not even on it. You're listening to the SpyFy After Dark podcast. Welcome to SpyFy After Dark. My name is Millen. I'm here today with my friend Frank
Hey, what's up, everybody?
and Alex.
Yo, what's going on?
Once again, I am joined by these two jokers. But this time we're actually going to tell you a little bit about them. So, Frank, why don't you get us going? Let us know what you know, what you're passionate about.
Okay, what's up, everybody? How you doing? I'm Frank, and I've known these two jokers for years now, especially the guy on my left, Alex. Known him for like damn near a decade. We met in college. We met Millen in college as well, but this guy first. These guys know me as the comics guy, and I'm sure you all have comics guys, but I'm the comics guy.
All right.
So
This is exactly what I wanted.
yeah. So I've been like before there was an MCU, before there were these video games. I was doing it before it was cool, guys.
Mhm.
So
He's
just
a
let
comic
you know.
hipster.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Alex?
So I've known Millen for I think about 5 years now. 5 years?
Yeah, I think approaching 6.
Yeah, 6 years. All of us actually met in college, and all of us, by the way, are local. Is that correct?
Yes.
Local to Arizona, so we've been represented for years. I don't know why they're my friends. I love to play devil's advocate. I love to bullshit, and I love to make their lives just a little more difficult incrementally. So
He's
I mean,
using the word difficult because there isn't a better word to describe what Alex does for our life.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it even if I wanted to.
but I love these two. So, regardless of the topics that Millen has for either of us, I mean, it's we're gonna promise a very, very interesting and engaging conversation. So
A good time.
Mm-hmm. All right. Alex is also an engineer by trade.
yeah, only on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, more of a social engineer.
Yeah.
Depends who you ask.
He's like officially yes, unofficially. eh.
He's also gained a fair amount of comic knowledge via Frank.
Yeah, Frank rubs off in every aspect. I mean, incredibly charismatic guy. Like in college, everyone loved Frank. I mean, very, very sociable, very fun, passionate about comics. At the time, being into that craft, and this was again like 10 years ago, was still kind of a niche. And now, even though it's more popular, but only at the surface, where we have, the access to the original content presented through like movies and video games, etc. Even now, and more importantly back then, it'd be more rare to find someone that was really immersed in the actual original content, like the novels, the comic books themselves.
Yes.
And we had someone like Frank who not only could just get people's attention for who he was regarding his personality, he would, bring up his passion, talk about these novels, these comics, the characters, the stories, and that lore. And it would be incredible and so unique. And, I was one of so many people to be very, very interested in, what he was all about. Now it's, as anyone who have even, anyone who's watched a movie in, MCU, you've got 22, 23 movies that are all phenomenal individually, right? It's easy to go see something like that, see a spectacle, be very, very impressed, and want to learn more. Maybe look online, maybe look into the comics forums, maybe even dive into the games and get into that craft at like a high level. But we've got someone like Frank who's essentially done the dirty work without knowing it since he was very, very young. I mean, the wealth of knowledge is not only vast, and that vast aspect can be pulled from like movies and games, but it's also very, very deep. So any kind of character that you may see on screen, you might know a little thing or two here and there about that character because of the movies, because of that access to the content. But Frank has a very, very deep understanding of the development of that character, seeing that character in action for hundreds of pages. So it's very, very interesting. Like Millen is a movie connoisseur, if you will, highly analytical, loves cinema, loves movie production. And if we talk about like a Marvel or DC movie, for instance, I'm only throwing in DC because I feel like I need to. If we're talking about Marvel movies, things we actually all like, Millen and Frank will have a very, very different perspective. And both sides are equally interesting, but are not necessarily similar at all. So I find that pretty intriguing. But
Alex, everybody, you make anybody sound good.
Except myself.
What he's trying to say is passion is interesting.
Yeah, the passions are interesting. Everyone's very different. Frank has a very unique passion. Millen is someone that can essentially have a very systematic and analytical understanding of so many different topics. I mean, if I have Millen in the room, it doesn't really matter which friend I'm accommodated with. That person will have a passion, for X or Y, and Millen can always put in like a very thoughtful and like valuable like set of inputs to the conversation, just because of kind of the way he thinks.
Very true.
Man, I should just have you every week.
Yeah. But granted, both of these guys, I've known them for a long time. Frank is my boy. We're very, very relatable. He's very, very, intuitive regarding, just understanding people and like social dynamics. And like, aside from like Marvel and all that, like he and I have just grown together. He's my boy. Millen I've known again, like for a long time. Like he and I have connected on so many different levels. So it's kind of interesting, looking back to see like, okay, like I started my friendship with like these people on like for different reasons and different conditions. And then like after so many years, like you kind of see how that grows, and like you independently grow with people independently growing, and that all looks different after years. And then you can still be friends amongst each other and like have a different dynamic. It's very, very cool. But anyway, enough about that.
For the listeners don't know, Millen and I are shedding a few tears. Like my soul, or what little soul I have left.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the most I've ever been complimented in my entire life.
That's a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. Depravity.
Well, okay.
You're amazing.
If we exclude like close family.
Okay, yeah.
We are a close family. But but anyway, yeah. I mean, love these guys.
That's us. That's
All
us.
right. Okay, so let's get to something people actually came to listen for.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Phase 4.
Phase 4.
What do you think, Frank? What would you like to see that's not in there?
Well, what I would like to see, that's a huge question. But what I'm excited to see that's in there.
Okay, let's start with that. It's a lot easier.
The Eternals. I'm a big fan of the Eternals. I've been following the Eternals for years. Nobody knows anything about them, so that's okay. But because no one knows anything about them, Marvel/Disney can take liberties with them, and they're taking a lot of liberties with this story.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty. And I'm not going to go into them, but they're changing a lot of things, for better or for worse. But it is what it is.
That's been their MO for the whole MCU, really. They picked a lot of lesser known characters.
True. Yeah, but B characters on up, they change. Like they more or less update. Like Guardians wasn't known, but you don't have to do too much with Guardians to make them interesting. Guardians, you got a talking raccoon in a tree. So it is what it is.
Are you implying that the anticipated focus of the Eternals will be of a different scale or have a different impact to the characters we know in the MCU that's been established in these 22 movies versus in the comics? So like, maybe the Eternals are just going to be like a side piece, or they're just going to be used for history's purpose, because I know the movie is supposed to take place like millions of years or something like that.
Yes.
Versus like,
wait, it is?
Yeah.
The Eternals are very old.
They're very old. Hence their name too.
Like the Eternals are like
Yeah, like
God's old.
Like most people, I know absolutely nothing about them.
Yeah. So I mean, we don't like. I don't know. Frank might know
Would you
more
like
about.
would you like a fun fact?
Sure.
Fun fact for you?
All right.
Yeah, Frank's fun facts, everybody. Every once in a while, right?
There
Got
you
one
go.
for you. Thanos
Uh-huh.
of Infinity War and Endgame is an Eternal
Okay.
of Titan. In the comics, he's more or less from Earth, like biologically speaking. His people just moved to a different planet.
Oh.
Thanos' father was born on Earth. There you go.
Okay.
And even though you might be trying to just kind of appreciate what the MCU is doing with these respective movies and their set of stories, it's interesting because we know that
This is a comics, everybody. I'm not saying the MCU is going to do this, but I'm just talking about for comics' sake.
Right. And on Frank's point, and I think this might be interesting to Millen, you've got 22 successful movies. Independently, they're successful. Each of them have done very, very well. And then as a franchise, the MCU has been incredibly successful and highly impactful, but you can't disregard the original content. Now, even though the MCU has done all kinds of deviations from the original content, it's interesting because they pull what is needed at times or what is convenient or what is interesting from the original content.
But I will say that you can you can keep less from the Eternals because nobody knows about them. Obviously,
you brought that up before. You brought that up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Superman won't change much because everybody likes Superman. The more you change with Superman, the less people are probably going to like about him.
Mm-hmm. Even though you probably need to change him to actually make him a good character.
Yeah, change some things about him, but keep his core character the same.
Okay.
Okay. That might change over time, but with Superman, it's going to change very slowly because more people are invested in Superman. The Eternals nobody knows about. So for example, in the Eternals, 3 or so characters will be gender bent.
Okay.
They will be women instead of men. And these characters are men. To be fair, a lot of Eternals are men too. So, representation and all that in that jazz. So whatever, that's fine.
And I'll bring something up really quickly.
Another
too.
character will be deaf. So deaf representation.
Got it.
I personally don't understand how an Eternal can be deaf, but we're not going to talk about that.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
that seems like a strange decision to me.
And it's like, I get it. Like those are odd changes, maybe for some kind of like social play or political play or whatever, because they may not have any like rational justification outside of that for putting that into a set of characters like the Eternals. But, one might say, okay, so we have these characters that are important to the overall lore of Marvel, but the general audience won't really be impacted by any significant change on these characters because they don't have exposure to those characters. Okay, fine. If someone were to say that, I understand where you're coming from, Frank, because like, for instance, and this is in our generation, the three of us, Harry Potter, very, very popular, right? And Harry Potter is not popular because of the movies. That's a fact.
No.
Change my mind. The books
make it make sense, y'all.
The books were phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you have, J.K. Rowling, the only author to ever be a billionaire. Okay. She made a lot of money off of her books. Okay. The reason I'm bringing this up is because imagine if Harry Potter was a female for the sake of a political play. I think that would potentially bother people because there's an investment. The only reason why it doesn't seem like a problem for the general public when it comes to the MCU is, to your point, if you have characters that are only seemingly insignificant because of the lack of information that the audience has that aren't in the niche, it's okay.
Yes.
But to your point, you're coming at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
I totally understand. And I'm wondering if you're going to see I'm wondering if villains are generally a safer set of characters to change to make a movie more interesting without like unsettling that niche of an audience. Because I feel like oftentimes when I watch movies that have some kind of comic or graphic novel behind them, the villains are changed often. Like their agenda, their set of abilities, their motive, etc.
Well, I think it's probably easier to change them for the sake of building the plot you want to tell.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
And actually, on a similar note, I watched a video about Into the Spider-Verse, and I didn't realize that the Homecoming / Far From Home Spider-Man is largely Miles Morales' character. Like they pulled a lot from that character and just put it into Peter Parker.
Okay.
The guy, because he made it. The guy who was making this video made a very good point, which is that Peter is going to a private school,
Which Miles was doing, yes.
He has a nerd best friend.
Matter of fact, his nerd best friend looks a lot like Ganke, which is Miles' best friend.
That's what he's saying. So they like pulled these like various characteristics from Miles and used it.
Definitely.
Which, I mean, I think it's the best incarnation of
Spider-Man.
Peter Parker from just an objective standpoint of like a good character on film. Obviously with no respect to the actual source material because I haven't read it, but so I find that pretty interesting myself.
I'm here for it, I'm invested in them for different reasons. Like I like Miles because, let's be honest, he looks like me. It's pretty cool. But I was invested in Peter first. So I'm like, it is what it is, Mm-hmm. I like them both, but for different reasons.
Sure. So, you're in kind of a tough position because you have to turn your head both ways. But like this sounds a lot different than this.
Okay. Sorry.
So as close as you can get to like right into it, it really makes a big difference.
I also can move forward.
Yeah, and you move your arm
for his sake. For his sake.
Yeah.
Here. Then he doesn't have to turn that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Much better. The Phase 4, I've heard from my friends that a lot of them aren't feeling it. They're just not feeling what's going on. They feel like this phase will be like the whatever phase until we get to like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and stuff. Which, doesn't have to be wrong, but I don't know. I like to give it a chance,
Yeah, and I think Phase 4 deserves a chance.
Yes.
Just based off the track record.
Thank you.
Right.
That's
it doesn't
the big
matter.
thing.
It doesn't matter what they do. They deserve it.
I mean, when you make 23 good movies,
that's ridiculous. It's never been done. It's never been done.
It's groundbreaking. Yeah.
Ever.
It's literally never been done.
I mean, 23 movies that are all connected and part of the same universe.
That are all individually.
That's crazy.
But even throwing away that fact, 23 movies that are consistently good and make money, that has never happened.
Yeah, I'd gripe with the second Thor and the second Iron Man and any other ones. Oh, I haven't seen the second Ant-Man.
No, a lot of people didn't like the second Thor.
Well, I think that's probably
the weakest one.
Yeah, the weakest.
I mean, you have
decent.
a villain with no agenda. He doesn't have a single line in the movie. That doesn't help. No, I'm serious. If you actually go rewatch it, I don't think he has a single line.
I'll buy the movie just so we can watch it.
Yeah, the Dark Elf is silent. So
wait, really?
Yeah. If you go rewatch it, you'll notice that he doesn't talk. That's a problem when you don't know what.
He says a few things, but not nearly enough.
No, dude, go rewatch. Like, I'm serious.
He's definitely not a character. Like he's just there,
right? But well,
he's more like a force.
He's a prop, but the problem is he's like the villain is a prop. Like that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
Unless the movie is. Sorry to bring this up again. Like Logan, you don't need a villain.
Here we go, guys.
Oh, sorry, guys. It's one of those days.
It's fucking
Logan. You don't
Logan in the Dark Knight.
Yeah, you don't need a villain, Logan, because the movie is literally about internal conflict.
Because he is the villain.
Yes, yeah. Thor. I mean that literally, right? But Thor is. I mean, sorry. I mean, and also the transition from the first two Thors to Ragnarok was like extreme. I had this conversation with someone else before.
Well, that's because Ragnarok was a reboot.
Oh, soft. It was Ragnarok had a whole different director.
Basically, a soft reboot. Yeah,
right.
Not only that, like I think with Thor 1 and Thor 2, it was more. It was closer to like comic lore, but that is not always a good thing. See, I know that too. Not everything comics translates to movies, right?
They threw away like his associations with the original content.
Exactly.
And they ran with it. Like he ended up being, I think
they just made him into an MCU character.
Yeah, they made him more attractive in their perspective.
He's
and they
funny
ran with
and stuff like that.
Yeah, goofy. He's not a leader. Like that kind of bullshit. And like, to each their own, But
yeah, Well, and that's also because the general audience isn't invested in Thor's story. They just want a good movie.
Yeah.
Right? So it is. See, Ragnarok didn't do it for me because of those reasons. But I'm invested in Thor.
I'd say Thor is a very recognizable Marvel character, even before the movies came out.
Definitely.
But I don't know if he would necessarily be that widely, like deeply known. He's just his image and his hammer.
Yes.
Would be known, but not like who.
Some people know him, they don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Definitely.
I agree with
Which
that.
is why he's such a good candidate for redoing. Basically.
Which is back to that's a good tie-in. That's a good tie-in to the conversation we had before. I will also say that this is kind of a tangent. I like what the MCU did with Thor. I have some like recommended changes and some issues with certain things, but all in all, I mean, he's a great character, great actor.
Yes.
That drives that character.
Hemsworth, we see you.
Yeah.
I will say though that if you can make a character like Captain America and run with a character like that and be able to continue enticing the audience with a character like that, only to pepper in the MCU tropes later in the game and incrementally, aka like the humor, the out of character kind of behavior, etc. I think you could maintain the integrity of a character like Thor. What I'm saying is Captain America is serious enough to justify Thor being a serious, tightly tied to original content kind of character who later can soften up and become more of an MCU gag later. It was an extreme change. It didn't have to be an extreme change. And I think 1 and 2 could have been good without having to sell the character out. Do I care? Not really, because there's 22, 23 movies and so many of them are amazing. Plus, I didn't really have any attachment to Thor anyway. So there's that. But just that's one criticism I have. That's it.
I think the only thing is he's a little bit too much of a bitch at this point.
Thank you. It was a 180.
Just a little bit. I mean,
so he bitch made. Y'all gotta let me know. How's he bitch made?
I like the turning him into a teenager. Basically, I like that. It's just a little bit too far for me. Like there are times where you just cannot take him seriously, and I think that takes away from his.
And he's a 1,500-year-old God of Thunder. It's
right.
You should always be able to take him seriously.
It's like I know you've been coddled by like your father who's a king, but like. You've lived for too long to be this dumb. Sometimes.
Right. And he has been somewhat of a warrior/warlord. Am I incorrect to say that? I mean, were they just like undergoing eternal peace? No, regardless of what we saw.
He was
no, I'm saying like you know what I mean? Like has he ever sought or just experienced suffering prior to the MCU? I'm assuming he would in that time span. Like why were like the few cataclysms in the MCU franchise enough to turn him into a bitch? To your point, it was just such an extreme change. It's like, come on, like this guy should have seen it all.
I mean, it's implied that he's fairly coddled even before the MCU starts. I mean, yes, he's got his like warrior squad that had like, Zachary Levi and whoever else, but they all got killed, unfortunately.
I know. But R.I.P. Warriors 3.
Yeah, but I think it was implied that like I don't think he's ever really seen significant loss up until the MCU. Like it would make sense that the events of the Infinity War saga would fuck him up for sure. It's just to me it went just a little too far.
Right. Plus the irony of that too is like there was actually more of a reason to have an issue. The change from.
I just appreciate them trying to make the change in the first place. Like taking that big of a leap with a character. If you think about it, it takes some balls to make that move from a story perspective. Because you're really undercutting what people know about the character.
But to your point, it wasn't as big of a risk because of the character.
Yeah.
Did they make...
Well, it had become more of a risk because they had established him in the MCU.
Right.
So at that point, more people knew who he was and what he was about.
Yes, but only at the surface level of the first two movies.
Well, he also is pretty involved in the
Avengers and stuff like that. Yeah, But I think people would have even more gripe if they knew the character based on the original content.
Well, yeah, certainly.
Quick question. We're gonna get back to Phase 4, but regarding the main Avengers, you guys say Thor made a big change, and it worked. Do you think, what in your opinions, have the rest of the main Avengers, have they made major changes to them and it worked? Because it seems like they're more or less like taking out the comics, more or less. Thor's probably the one that they needed to change the most. Makes sense too. He's an immortal god. He's crazy powerful. You have to do something. They probably you got to humanize him in order for it to make a movie and for to make people to care.
Yeah.
So, Captain America's humanized just because he was like a malnourished, like prepubescent man before he got the super soldier serum. So, Iron Man humanized himself. I don't know. Like he kind of
multiple times.
Yes, he went through everything to make himself better. So, Thor had to take him down a peg, I guess.
Throughout the progression of the franchise, I would say the second character I can think of to have a closely relatable transition in his personality to that of Thor's would be Bucky, regarding like that 180 into like a more human, more relatable character because of what he was initially.
Is he more human and relatable?
He cracks jokes.
He's getting there.
He was cracking jokes way before he was Winter Soldier.
No, I know. I guess what I'm saying is from being like from Winter Soldier and the end of Winter Soldier to Civil War and then to
that's true. He did. He came along.
Yeah.
There.
Now I'm not saying he ended up where Thor was. I'm saying he started way behind Thor and ended up like that mid transition.
I mean, I think Iron Man went through a lot, changes wise.
I just don't think he changed. I think he went through his own changes, but I don't think his position or his dynamic with the rest of the team changed. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Like he grew, but like at the same
I think he grew into more of a leader as in regards to the team.
I think he's just a better version of himself.
Yeah.
He's not he didn't become the perfect man. He just became a more responsible Tony.
Well, he also went from selfish to sacrificing himself at the very end.
I guess.
I mean, there's a character shift there.
Yeah, there is.
I have to disagree.
Where it happened,
I have to disagree because in Avengers he was willing to sacrifice himself.
That's true. I mean, you could argue that's where the shift was actually.
Right there, and then that like that created the trauma, and then also the dynamic that
actually that's a good point. I think that is where the shift happened.
Right, and the dynamic between Stark and Cap, being that they come from like opposite ends, and they're both trying to do good, but they're both self-righteous in doing so. Tony's self-righteousness manifests in his own ability. Captain's self-righteousness manifests in his beliefs.
His ideals, yeah.
Yeah, he thinks his beliefs are the only way and the right way. Tony believes that everything is on him because he has more responsibility. Because he's capable. Because he's more capable. It's a burden of being capable, right? He is more capable than Captain America. We know that.
Yeah.
That didn't change. That just presented itself more in Civil War, and then we like had a full circle back into that at the beginning of Endgame, and still it didn't change at the end.
So are you saying that
like Tony is?
So are you saying that Tony, from the moment he got the Iron Man's, he made his first Iron Man suit, he would have made the same decision that he did in Endgame?
I don't think so.
I think so. I could argue it because he made the choice once he started. Like after he went through the ordeal in the cave, he was just, I'm here. I'm not doing this anymore.
The problem I have with Captain's like dichotomy in ideals with Starks is that the franchise
hey listeners, I'm just gonna let you guys know I'm not entirely convinced that Alex Medawar here likes Captain America. I'm not entirely convinced.
I don't like Captain America.
There you go. Yeah. Got it.
And that philosophical discussion that they have regarding like how to protect the world and like at what expense, that becomes very, very irrelevant because of Thanos. That's my problem with like that dichotomy. It's like this is a very, very philosophical motif.
So, like, it would be cool if it was like a Red Skull type character they were fighting.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like, I'll give
Like
you,
on that scale.
right. It's like, okay, we have like humans that are capable of good and evil. And so humans are a threat to other humans, right? We're all on the same playing field. We all need to understand like what's at play, what the stakes are, who is capable enough to lead whom, and how to achieve peace, or how to achieve the greater good without the expense of like suppressing people and fellow people, right? What I mean is like how do you do good on this earth without like taking away other people's like liberties, right? So it's like, oh, I want to bring peace to earth. Okay. But you don't want to do it at the expense of like ridding people of their privacy or their ability to do what they want,
Or
their
their free
liberties,
will,
right?
or
Their
the
free will,
agency.
right? The agency. So it's the
Things
whole.
that you live for.
It's the old story, autonomy versus paternalism.
Mhm.
I like that. Civil War was cute. It touched on that, and that also grew.
Well, so did Winter Soldier.
Right. And Stark's character, I think, in Civil War grew from how Avengers played out at the end. Okay, he realized that like, oh, there's like a bigger deal here. It's not just about like my weapons and my ability to like
Mhm.
essentially monitor the earth, because I have the highest technology, right? I have the highest capability to influence whomever, wherever on earth. It started off that way. Nobody can compete with Stark. So now it's like a kind of like a Superman thing.
So you're saying
That is
Tony
what it was from.
Tony became better because he realized it wasn't just about him anymore. Like there were things bigger than him.
Yeah, but my problem at the same time, my problem with that is like, as soon as that happened, Captain America became irrelevant. Like, if the Chitauri, is that how you pronounce the name?
Yeah.
If they didn't come to Earth, like if all of conflict resided mainly on Earth, okay,
Mm.
then that conflict of autonomy versus paternalism would still be very interesting and I think very relevant. But as soon as you incorporate characters like Thanos, I don't think in retrospect you would have Stark say, you know what, Captain America was right. Like I think preemptively they could have like prepped for Thanos.
So his ideas became irrelevant once we found out aliens were in the picture.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, people on Earth didn't contribute at all. You know what I'm saying?
To what?
To anything. To their own existence. They didn't contribute at all. That's what I'm saying. Like they didn't. So the key players with skin in the game were at an elevated position to make the choice to fight for a greater good, right? And that greater good was in for the preservation of universe's, total existence versus it being halved. Okay, but like Stark, from my understanding, was like, hey, we could set up programs and systems to essentially like shield or envelop the Earth at the expense of X and Y and Z. I thought that was like the whole thing with Civil War. Okay, so it's like it's just old.
Well, was it? I don't know about. I don't know if I
That
agree
was
with
the
that
thing with
Civil
Ultron,
War.
definitely.
With Ultron, yes.
Maybe it was Ultron.
With
I might be missing this up. I might be messing this up.
With Civil War, it was more like, are the heroes themselves going to give up their rights,
Right.
their ability to operate independently?
Well, Tony didn't trust himself, so and Cap did.
I think
I guess.
in Civil War, Tony was like, they're not going to let us exist the way we exist now, so we might as well just work with them on something that can work for them being every other regular human on Earth, so that we can continue to exist and continue to be a guardian force.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of it.
Mm. But my question is like, once you have, okay, so I get like Ultron's existence kind of grounding everything and keeping it about the agency of the heroes on Earth and whether they themselves were a threat to one another in the Earth. But when you have things like the Chitauri or Thanos, it like doesn't matter, because you have things that can literally come and just obliterate the Earth. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it just invalidates like that small scale conflict on Earth. And like, what I'm saying is like, at the end of the day, blah blah blah, Avengers have to step up, and like everyone else is essentially just not a part of the picture, and it's just up to Avengers to step up. And
Yeah, they're just the stakes.
yeah, and it's not like there was a splitting of the Avengers when something of that scale came. Does that make sense? So if there's a big enough issue, and there constantly were at the later stages of the MCU, the Avengers will come together. So it's like, I don't know. It made Captain America's like point just less interesting, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but Captain America's cool. I just don't like him. Whatever.
You're saying he's basically become irrelevant based on the scale of the MCU.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I don't mean his abilities. I just mean his ideals. I
think you could argue both, but
yes, you
could probably argue both.
You can argue both, but I didn't want to.
yeah.
I didn't want to. For the sake of the conversation, no. In general, yes.
Maybe that's why they retired him.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna steer this a slightly different direction now.
Do it.
Since the last time we talked, I finished S.H.I.E.L.D., the current season.
Okay.
And I am just curious. With this season of S.H.I.E.L.D., there's a lot of talk about lots of different alien races that know about humans and refer to them as Terrans. And I'm curious, like, how has this not, like, impacted Earth, like, at all?
Yeah. It seems like, I don't know, in my mind, my headcanon is, it seems every intelligent, like, alien race out there knows about Earth.
Mm-hmm.
But Earth is so underdeveloped, they're not really an issue.
They just don't care.
Even
when you have S.H.I.E.L.D. agents putting together a ship that can travel, like, to vastly different areas.
True, but that was like one ship, and it was like, it was one ship, and I'm pretty sure didn't they get alien tech like for help or something? Didn't they?
I don't remember.
My point is there. Yeah, it's like, oh, they're trying. That's cute. You know, they're still not there. Like, there's they're representatives on Earth that are badasses, but they're badasses because they're either not from Earth or they have non-earthly sources of power, i.e., Captain Marvel and Thor.
Mm-hmm.
Thor is not a Terran. Thor is an Asgardian.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel is fueled by like the jump drive from the movie and the Tesseract, Space Stone. So she's backed by an Infinity Stone.
Is she?
Yeah, yes. More or less. They're more or less. It's the.
I thought it was just the plane.
But the source was based on the Tesseract.
Okay, that's right. Okay, that sounds right.
So yeah, so she's more or less backed by the Space Stone. Same thing. I mean, Scarlet Witch is technically backed by the Mind Stone, isn't she? So,
yes. Yeah.
Same idea.
And Vision was the Mind Stone.
Right. Well, Vision had it like on this person. I'm not convinced that Vision could fully use the Mind Stone to its like full capabilities because he's not a fully organic being.
But he didn't.
And he also
couldn't exist without it.
True.
Because he died the minute you took it off him.
I mean, yeah, the explosion killed him. They ripped it out of his head. If I'd have shot a bullet through his brain, he would have probably died too.
Yeah, but then Thanos just went back and pulled it out of him, and he died.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense though, because
the first time she blew it up, and then he went back in time like 5 minutes, and then just literally ripped it out of him, and he died.
But he ripped a significant port. I'm saying, like, obviously it was implied, that was the whole thing in the movie, that Vision could possibly live without the Mind Stone. And I agree he probably could too. But he just kind of pulled the shit out. Like, if I had an implant in the side of your head and I ripped the implant out, you'd probably bleed out and die.
My problem with Vision requiring the Mind Stone to live would also imply that his creation had to have like involved a full understanding of the Mind Stone.
It could have just been an accident.
Yeah. It's more or less an accident, bro. Like,
And,
his
well,
body wasn't an accident.
Okay, but
Also consider that he was technically invented by Ultron, and Ultron was like this, artificial intelligence network that theoretically could have understood it much better than our main characters did.
no, I don't think so. I don't agree. Ultron did not prove to have any greater intellectual capabilities than Stark in the movie, at least. You can change my mind.
Really?
What did he have? They even implied it. Remember, he was like slightly faster with his like quips than Stark because he's essentially Stark. But what did he do?
Yeah, his computational abilities
based
were
on Stark.
greater, but it's because
Just
they
faster.
were
Just
faster
Just think
because
Stark
he's a
but
computer.
faster. That's it. In my opinion, I don't think they didn't create a sentience that could correct itself fast enough to be a new sentience that's greater than that of the creator. I think it was just a better simulation of.
I mean, if you give,
I don't know what he did. Like,
you make the body, you give it the power source. Let's say you put Jarvis in, you don't give him the same parameters. So it's like making a robot without the 3 laws, right? And then would it essentially be Vision without his powers? Or knowing the law, like Sunny. Vision is Sunny from iRobot.
Yeah, no, I understand that. My question is, you've got the stone, and was the stone, to your point, just an accident? And even if it's an accident, at the end of the day, like, how are the stones tapped into?
True.
How are they understood? Can they be
Exactly.
understood by artificial intelligence?
I make the argument that, like I said, Vision could not fully. I don't know if it was within his capabilities to fully understand the Mind Stone or even integrate with the Mind Stone because he's not an organic being. That's my opinion.
And yet he created Vision. So, there has to be something there. He wouldn't be capable of creating Vision.
No. Hold on. There's a loop there. Creating Vision wouldn't be a feat beyond his capabilities if Vision does not need the Mind Stone. If he needs the Mind Stone, then what you're saying is true.
Yeah. Well,
then there needs to be a special.
It's implied that he does, though.
Right. It's just.
Is it?
I don't think he could have lived without it.
I get what you're saying. I think it goes both ways. I get what Millen's saying, though.
Okay.
It is kind of implied.
Just in the
But
context,
I don't think he needs it either.
of
It
the
doesn't make
movies,
sense.
in the context of the movie, it seems like he needs it.
In the comics, he doesn't have the Mind Stone, but there's a gem on top of his head, but it's just a battery that absorbs solar radiation. But let's put that aside.
Yeah. So it could be an example of them just changing it up.
I just feel like
I don't think they really ever explicitly said either way. It's kind of up to interpretation.
that's true though. I'm gonna leave it at this.
Well, I also have a problem with him requiring the Mind Stone and being such a nerfed character. I also have a problem with that because if he requires the Mind Stone, wouldn't he himself be at least very, very integrated with the Mind Stone on his head? And yet I feel like he was a very, very nerfed character. There's also that. I'm hoping he doesn't need the Mind Stone and that he has the Mind Stone, but then doesn't tap into it fully, and that's why his character sucked ass. Because that dude was.
I think that's what it is.
That dude was fucking weak. I'm sorry for being.
He was dope in Age of Ultron, and
yeah, he was very strong.
He fell off in what was it?
Civil War.
Infinity War.
He did all right in Civil. Scarlet Witch is powerful, so it's okay.
But that's the thing. Scarlet Witch is an organic being that was literally affected by the energies of the Mind Stone. Yeah. So I believe her raw potential is greater than Vision's.
Yeah. Scarlet Witch is the low key, one of the most powerful.
Yes, she definitely is.
She's incredibly powerful
and very low key.
Yeah, her altercations with Thanos. I mean, she would hold her own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, she literally would have killed him straight up. She would have ripped him apart if he didn't call in his artillery in Endgame.
That's true. She did have the better of him.
He was calling in artillery out of desperation.
Yes.
Because he knew he was going to die if he didn't.
We didn't know how to deal with her.
Yeah,
she's a telekinetic, so.
To Frank's point, I'll go back on a tangent and we can move forward. I don't see how artificial intelligence could fully understand the Mind Stone. Specifically. I do get that.
And that could also be the point, is that just maybe he needed it to survive, but there was no way for him to possibly
fully tap into it.
Yeah, or maybe for the sake of the story, it's better for Vision to have it versus another person.
That too.
Like,
A lot more danger.
Maybe
it's
there's
not more dangerous to give the Mind Stone to Scarlet Witch,
or maybe
versus give it to a fucking robot who's not going to want to do a whole bunch of stuff.
not just maybe because a robot cannot tap fully into it, that robot can actually like sustain itself, because we see how these stones can be overwhelming to the user.
Yes,
especially organic users.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Okay. What are we going back to?
There's some Phase 4 discussion.
Wow.
What all is in Phase 4 exactly?
We got Eternals. We got Thor: Love and Thunder, which will star
Natalie Portman.
as Jane Foster.
The bench. Okay.
Yeah. The bench is in a
What?
widely renowned actor who's made a lot of money through her career.
I know.
Why are we going to the bench? I'm not getting this. What's the bench? What is that?
Because she's like a secondary character in the MCU. She's
Oh,
really not that important as a character.
She can hold her own, but I'm just calling.
Can she? Can she?
I have to say it. She can potentially. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay, we'll see.
It's just funny because she's such a well-known actor who's made a lot
she
of
killed
money.
it as Padme.
I mean, Jared Leto was like an amazing and well-renowned actor. Did you see his Joker?
That's not the point I'm making. I'm just saying it's weird that you have someone with that name
Eminence?
as a secondary character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of like.
That's all I'm saying.
Kind of like, what's his name?
I'm not passing any judgment on the quality of the performance at all.
Matt Damon.
Oh yeah.
He's great.
As,
Right.
as like,
But yeah, Love and
Ragnarok
Thunder
might be the funnest.
Yeah.
The funnest movie in the MCU.
Yeah. Definitely.
Just straight up.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm on gripes with Ragnarok, but whatever.
All right, what else is in Phase 4? Black Widow movie.
Black Widow movie.
little
Which
late.
doesn't make any sense to me, but
Oh my goodness. Like that movie.
it should have been made 5 years ago.
Yes. She should have been got her movie.
Yeah.
When is the movie taking
Should have been
place?
made after Iron Man 2.
Oh my goodness, Millen. I said the same thing last week. The same.
Or at the very least after Iron Man 3.
Yes.
At the very least.
Like we shouldn't be going back to like spy stuff when we just had like
Aliens.
universal aliens.
Actually-
wiping out 50%. Yeah.
Actually, no, like, yeah, Millen, or Frank and Millen, like that makes a lot of sense because of the introduction of Black Widow, and also like she was fresh at that time.
Yes.
Like I feel like her
The
inability to be
script-
relevant was kind of like a problem later on.
Yeah.
The script for the movie was in development back then. Like, I think the initial plan was to make it around like 2010.
When's the movie taking
But it
place?
just didn't
Anybody know?
happen. I have no idea.
Like,
It's
is
just I wouldn't do it.
it like a super prequel or is it like?
It's got to be a prequel of some kind.
That-
Well, it's obviously got to be a prequel. I would say their best bet to making it like giving it a semblance of like relevance is making it in the 5-year gap.
Oh yeah,
Making it in the 5-year gap.
That
Like
would
make this
actually be
go
interesting.
on like right before, like when nobody's around and she's doing her thing. Because if it's too far back, we're not gonna care.
Right.
That would actually be interesting. That's
Like
a
what's
good
going
point.
on there, what's she going through. You know, there's still stuff going on with the Red Room. She has to stop it, so on and so forth. We're getting the Taskmaster. That's
Uh-huh.
great. You guys know who the
She's-
Taskmaster is?
No,
Isn't Taskmaster
I really hope it's
The
that. I'd be really disappointed if it was.
Grandmaster's brother? Or no?
Nah,
He's not an elder?
Nah, he's the Blastmaster's nephew.
dude.
Are you serious?
And I was joking.
Okay.
No.
The
No.
Blastmaster is KRS-One. That was an old rapper joke.
Yeah, I don't know who Blastmaster
Well,
is.
see, I wouldn't put it past Marvel to have a character named the
Blastmaster.
Blastmaster.
There's
Remind
Judo
me who Taskmaster is again.
Taskmaster is a mercenary. Tony something. I forgot his name. But long story short, they've retconned his character to where like suppose the serum gave him abilities, but I'm gonna go before that and say he was born with photographic reflexes.
Oh, you mentioned
So-
this guy
He's
before.
a productivity consultant that works with Fortune 500 companies to
Yeah.
increase their bottom line.
Yeah, pretty much. So anything he sees, he can replicate as long as within his body's capabilities to do so.
That's so stupid.
That's kind of cool. What are you talking about? It's like having photographic memory, but with your body. Is it? Is it? Because he's still human. That's the thing. He can't replicate Spider-Man because what Spider-Man does is beyond.
Wait, okay, what is his limit?
whatever
Human
his body's
limits.
human limits. That's the point.
Oh, okay.
So he can watch. He can watch. Who's it? Black Widow do something.
He's highly coordinated. That's
Yes,
what it is.
pretty much. He can watch Black Widow do something.
He's
Oh,
a
okay.
highly
I think
capable
I
human.
misunderstood what the power.
No, he's a highly capable human being who also happens to be highly coordinated. So he's in full control of his body.
Pretty much.
All
Yeah,
right,
fuck
I take
that.
it back then.
He's hyperkinetic.
I take it back.
Okay, I made that up.
Yeah, I made up the
Yeah.
Grandmaster's brother.
Yeah, but you explained it really well. He has really good coordination. Like he can watch you play something or do like an Olympic level, like I don't know something.
Diving.
Yeah, and he can do it. He can do that. Now, can he watch Spider-Man lift a car and do it? No, it's outside his body's capability of doing so.
Okay.
But he can copy Spider-Man's moves as long as what he's doing is like normal. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
like
he's pretty cool.
gymnastics.
Yes, pretty much. Or
okay.
fighting styles. Like he sits around and watches like Captain America fight so he can just do it later.
I see.
He carries like a bow and arrow around. Like Hawkeye, he carries around a shield and a sword for like Captain America.
Wait, so is this guy going to be in the Black Widow movie?
Yeah, he's going to be one of the bad guys. So that's pretty cool.
Is he a villain?
Yes.
Interesting.
Mercenary.
That's a good villain.
He's a mercenary,
archetype.
yeah. A hero can't be like him. Because first of all, he's basically pretty much cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, yeah. He's not overcoming. He's not learning.
He'd be a
anything.
great intern though for any character.
Wow.
Yeah, he's like I think of him as like he's like autistic. Anyway, I don't know.
Okay.
Right.
Something like that.
All right, I'm going to be really disappointed if it's not in the 5-year gap.
What I just said, yeah, sounds good, doesn't it?
That's the only version.
That's the
that's gonna
only.
be good.
That's the only thing people would care about.
Does Dustin
because
Hoffman have a son?
That's cold.
That's not just like counting, toothpicks on the
We
floor.
also got what else do we have? We have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Shang-Chi is just
Marvel's
Bruce Lee.
attempted
Bruce
diversity.
Lee. I mean, it's all been attempted diversity at this point.
Yeah, fair
but Shang-Chi is pretty much Marvel's Bruce Lee.
Okay.
He's the master of Kung Fu and he's the best fighter in the world.
So like a better version of Iron Fist.
He's a more skilled version of Iron Fist.
Just
Okay.
it, man.
He's not as powerful as Iron Fist. Iron Fist technically has superpowers.
Yeah.
But he'll beat Iron Fist in a fight.
Huh.
I thought Iron Fist also has Deathstroke's capability, partially.
Yeah, but he has to focus on it to try it. He can't do it in passing.
Okay, so that wouldn't save him against someone like Shang-Chi. Okay.
No, oh, I mean, I think he could. This is the thing. At the fullest of Iron Fist capabilities, and you guys can argue with me if you want to, he can beat Shang-Chi because he actually has superpowers. He can elevate his abilities to physical levels, so on and so forth. But if we're talking about skill versus skill, and Iron Fist has no powers, Shang-Chi's going to win most of those fights.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's been trained since he was like 2 years old to fight.
If Iron Fist got to the point of the videos you saw in the series of the old Iron Fist,
Yes.
like how competent he was, then yeah, that guy he'd
Yes.
wreck anyone.
Oh yeah, that was cool. That was like the best. That was the best fight scene. It wasn't even him.
Yeah. Well, that was the best moment of the entire series.
He isn't lying.
Yeah.
Don't watch it, Alex. You will rip Iron Fist apart.
No, yeah.
You will rip.
You would
Rip it
all
apart.
of the Netflix series, that's one you'd hate the most.
Yes.
The only Iron Fist I'm
The one you'd
interested in would be
Wait,
the
which
King of
one
Iron
did-
Fist.
which one?
Church. For all views for everybody who was born like after 98.
Yeah.
It's Tekken.
Yeah, so like circa 97, you've got like a video game called Tekken. King of Iron Fist tournament.
So, which of the Netflix series would Alex actually like?
Mm,
I'm thinking maybe Jessica Jones. I don't know if he certainly wouldn't be into Iron Fist.
no.
He might be into Luke Cage.
We'll preface
season
this by
1.
saying to the audience, hey, by the way, I don't really watch TV. so-
Daredevil would be cool. He'd think Daredevil was cool, but he wouldn't care about it so much because everybody'd be on Daredevil's like dick too much. So he's like,
Mhm.
he's gonna pick it apart hard.
Yeah, I told Def do his part.
Wow.
So I love him, guys. I'd have to say Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the one he likes the most.
Why?
Just there's the least
Something of a
there to
psychological
pick
thriller?
apart.
Yeah,
It's the most solid.
yeah. She got issues, bro.
Yeah,
Jessica Jones is good. Like,
the character's pretty interesting too. She's the most interesting character.
Okay, there you go. Because I'm character driven.
from the Marvel.
You both
from
know
the
this.
Netflix Marvel
Ah,
shows.
alright.
I think she's the most.
How do you feel
I think
about
she's the most
Punisher?
interesting by far.
yeah, Jessica Jones kind of like. I don't care for perfect characters either. Like I'm cool with them or whatever, but I like characters who establish growth. I like characters who are better than they were a year ago.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see Jessica's growth sometimes, but it's there.
Yeah.
I think
agree.
the drinking is just,
Yeah.
but that's part of her character. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel about Punisher?
He's okay.
How would he feel about Punisher?
I don't know. I don't think it would appeal to him that much.
I feel like he'd feel the same way about Punisher that he'd feel about Daredevil. Except he like Daredevil a little more.
I think he'd like Punisher more. I don't know. Alex, how do you feel about like brutality?
Depends. Is it justified?
No.
I think that's the question. That's the crux of the entire.
That's the crux
character.
of both shows. That's the crux of both shows.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like,
I mean, my favorite movie is No Country for Old Men.
is he brutal?
Yeah, I mean, he killed. I mean, the villain Sugar kills people mercilessly and actually thinks that he's doing it righteously, but the killings are acts of terror that are tied to his belief system. But it's not like he's jacking himself off, so to speak, on that. It's just implied. Like the work and the character play out that and like sell that to the audience versus like the dialogue or the excessive blood or whatever kind of like factor you want to throw in there having to sell it. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know what the brutality looks like in Punisher, but like unless the character really sells it.
He sells it, doesn't he?
I'd say so. He's pretty fucking intense.
He got issues, bro.
Yeah. Another character that, I wasn't like the biggest fan of Watchmen, but Rorschach sells it.
Well, Rorschach.
Actually, you know what? He'd appreciate the Punisher more because of his relationship with the family. The mom and her kids.
In the first season?
That alone would make him
Micro's
appreciate it more, yeah.
Micro's family? Okay.
What do you have there?
I only like vaguely remember this season because it's been a long time since I saw it. But
I mean, Logan is brutal.
Yeah. Logan. We've been following Logan for forever, though.
I'm just bringing that up because what I'm saying is I don't have like a general issue with brutality. I just can if I feel like a show or a movie is relying on it.
mm-hmm.
It shouldn't. A show can have a gratuitous amount of blood, gore, brutality, but as long as the show doesn't tell me that it's needing that to be interesting.
Okay.
All right, we get it, Alex. You like Logan. We get it.
Go watch it, guys,
We
in theaters
understand.
4 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no,
Logan
I think-
director's cut.
Wow.
Ultimate cut.
Jesus.
We'll make it work. Oh my goodness. Slasher film.
What do you guys think about the Joker film coming out?
I'm gonna see it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the trailer. So
Is
I
it
can't
Joaquin?
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
Joaquin.
I just saw a picture of him
Mm.
with the makeup, like right next to Heath Ledger. And I was like, it's pretty good. But
Yeah, I kind of have an issue with DC content just constantly recycling like the same 10% in movies. You know, what I mean?
10%.
Like,
Well,
like 10%
Well,
of
'cause
the character.
they're trying to get the iteration of that 10% that actually clicks with the audience enough to build the other 90%.
Right, but it's not like we forget
But
about
like
the other movies.
what they should be doing is doing what the MCU did, taking the other 90%, reinventing it, and
Thank
putting
you.
it on screen.
Thank you. Or like pretending that I'll here.
And then just
Let me-
forgetting that Superman ever existed.
Yeah, so like on the one hand, to your point, we shouldn't like need to have 40 or 50 Superman movies when none of them like stick out,
Mhm.
right?
And when they were only appreciated in the 60s.
So we got a Superman hater at a million?
Yeah.
Do we?
yeah,
I hate Superman.
I can't stand Superman
Man, most
either.
favorite superhero ever.
I know why you don't like him. In a nutshell, in a couple sentences, why don't you like
He's
him?
just boring.
One dimensional.
He's boring. He's good at everything. He has one artificial weakness.
Man of Steel touched on other weaknesses, but
he
then
is purely a manifestation of lazy storytelling that has since been improved in the general writing community over time.
100% agree with him. That was super disrespectful, but 100% agree with him. 100.
Like this character was made in like the 20s,
30s,
30s,
38, I believe.
and it's pretty
78.
fucking
Did
obvious.
you just give us an exact date? that was ridiculous. All right, be careful with what you say about this character, Millen.
Millen saying, "What's his
Millie.
address?"
Millie.
He said it, not me.
But you know what? Man of Steel touched on different dimensions of the character because Superman in Man of Steel had issues connecting with people. So they did touch on that a little bit, and the movie was decent, I think, for a Superman movie. Regarding my issues with DC,
The fact that you have to qualify that with for a Superman movie is the entire point.
and I could only qualify it by saying for a Superman movie.
Yeah. Until he has actual weaknesses, I will have no respect for his character.
I've gotten past that point where I don't like Superman because he's perfect. I got to the point where I don't like Superman because everybody else, like I'm talking about like the characters in the comics and stuff like that, or even people in general, respect the character because he is perfect. I don't not like him as like he's an alien, so I give him the benefit of the doubt. He's not like us, so like he's in a position where he could be perfect as far as we're concerned.
I have a question for you.
But
Well, go on.
hold on. But everything about him would make him not only not relatable to us, but he's not a part of our system. So we can't use our ideals. We can't push them on him. Like he can't push our ideals on us when he's not even a part of our system. So Superman cannot represent humanity because he's not human. So I'm with Lex on that on that part. Like you can't tell people whether they can't kill or they can't steal.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to eat. No, nothing's a threat to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's my issue with Superman.
I mean, I also have a similar problem with Captain Marvel. However, the reason I'm okay with it in Marvel's case is because she is not a main character.
Okay.
They use her for what she should be used for.
Okay.
Which is like an existential alien threat. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And otherwise, she's just out doing her shit.
I have a question for both of you. Let's just say, okay, take the Rocky franchise, right? Let's just say Apollo has Rocky Balboa, approach him, and Rocky is this like scrappy, rookie from the ghetto with like minimal training and wants to take on Apollo. Okay, so it's Rocky 1, but it's from Apollo's perspective. And Apollo is like undefeated and can't lose. Okay. Apollo goes through some form of jealousy amongst his peers, some racism because of the time, of the movie. And he's also conflicted with whether or not he should like beat this opponent down, and if he should even let the opponent win because he's like struggling to balance, empathy versus like what he should do versus like, certain factors externally from, his viewers or his community, etc. Would that be an interesting movie for you guys to watch?
If only what you're talking about is actually a problem, then it could be a decent
Okay,
movie.
exactly. It's generally not a problem, and that's Superman.
It would be
That's
a
not
movie that does well at film festivals and bombs hard at the general
That's
box office.
Superman. Superman is like essentially he undergoes like, or can
like the only good version of Superman in his current iteration is a story where he has to struggle with these, like feeling like he's not one of us and he lives here and like going through those things, and it would still be a shitty movie.
And it's tough because
it's still a shitty movie because him not feeling like he's one of us is not enough for us to actually feel like he's struggling because he doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, because he doesn't really have true attachment here. He's not confined to the earth. And he also looks like an ideal human being. He has no sense of urgency because he doesn't really age. And there's no like actual threat because he tends to be the most powerful person
in the room.
So like, what is the problem?
Yeah, like that movie.
It's not believable.
That movie would appeal strongly to a very small portion of people and everyone else would hate it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're like a police officer, you're going to love the movie. I'm kidding, y'all.
He's not.
I'm not.
Wow.
No, but I brought up Joker because I'm not convinced.
I haven't seen the trailer, so I really can't comment.
Fair enough.
I'm one of the few people in the world that don't really care for Joker. But,
Same.
But
I don't love or hate him.
Well, I have issues with DC or spinoffs of DC content, popping up and lacking one diversity of characters.
well, that's because DC has it worse than Marvel. Like Marvel's characters on average are more diverse. What DC has going for itself, DC has better idealistic characters, and their legacies are much better. Like they're grander. They're a part of a line of powerful people and stuff like that. Like that's great, but they're also not very humanizing.
Oh, I have a question for you, Frank.
What's up, man?
Do you think that the executives in charge of making the DC cinematic universe are afraid to challenge what the comics set forth as their characters because the fans of DC Comics would be more pissed off than the fans of Marvel when Marvel changes up their characters? Because the fans of the comics make up a very large percentage of the box office revenue of these movies.
Do they?
Yeah. Certainly in the early days when you're establishing
I'm just going to throw in Nolan's films, and then you continue.
Well, I know. That's a different story. I'm talking about the executives currently in charge of making this. Nolan is... They just let him do it because he's Nolan.
But what I'm saying is, those executives seeing the Batman that came to be from Nolan's movies, I mean, that should give them some kind of green light, because the Batman in Nolan films was like not near the physical, or not near the Batman in the comics.
Yeah, but they could just as easily say Nolan's films were an aberration, and we're not sure if we could replicate.
Batman's easier to do on that in that vein, because Batman and all of his rogues and stuff like that are all like not very physically impressive, and they could be potentially very psychologically stimulating. So you can do that, but Superman doesn't have that problem, because you'd be like, what the fuck? Like,
okay, because you're saying like a character like Batman is not known for his abilities. He's known for his associations to villains and his struggles.
Mm-hmm. He's known for his silhouette.
Well, he's famous for his villains and his struggles, and he's held in high regard because he's like the best like that humanity has to offer. But you can't. It's hard to do movies with that vein with somebody like Superman.
Because, okay, so what I'm trying to get at is, why is DC seemingly not willing to do what Marvel does and reinvent their characters for the screen?
Because they'll be ridiculed for being accused of doing what Marvel's doing.
That was my point. Is it the fans of DC Comics that are preventing them from doing this? Because it seems like it would be the best move for telling the best story you can.
I will say that it might be just inherently easier to use Marvel content for film. Maybe Frank can touch on that too.
Maybe.
Well, I just said so. I just said that.
Yeah, maybe expand on that a little bit.
I mean, remember, Wonder Woman is, and guys, understand, I am a DC fan as well. Mm-hmm. I read damn near all Marvel. I mean, all like imprints: Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse. I read it all, and I love them all for different reasons. But just for the sake of this conversation, let's take the Justice League for example. We've already talked about Superman. We've already talked about Batman. You know why they are less relatable. Mm-hmm. Or Flash is a CSI. He probably makes good money, and he moves faster than light. Wonder Woman is a princess from a magical island. Mm-hmm. Aquaman is an Atlantean king.
Yeah.
A blonde-haired white Atlantean. Well, they did something with that, so Aquaman worked.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Yeah. So, Martian Man is in the same vein as Superman, only he's not as relatable because he doesn't look like us. He's less trustworthy because he's a telepath and a shapeshifter. So the very existence of Martian Manhunter implies like a lack of trust and lying.
Okay.
No, okay. All these characters don't have struggles as far as their powers and everything is concerned in relation to like like us, or I guess it's very hard to write a story about.
So are DC heroes generally less human? Like, are there less human DC heroes? Like
I think there's.
human?
I think.
Because that
I think
would...
I think the characters that people know about are less human.
Okay.
Generally, Marvel
So-
characters are more known than DC characters.
So they got to reach into their backlog.
yes, they got to reach into it. Like they got to really reach. They got to get the deep cuts.
Okay, so
For
if you were designing a DCU, let's say you were designing a phase 1 of DCU, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What are the heroes you'd pick? Hold on one sec. Well, you can answer the question. So what are the first heroes you'd pick for phase 1?
That's a hard question. I'd pick the like my favorites or who I think would work. Like what would I,
Like, you're setting up the best DCU you can set up.
okay.
You can pull in your favorites if you like. but
I'd pull in the Trinity, but do something a little different. I think they were done okay, more or less.
Who's the Trinity?
Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman.
Okay.
They're considered the holy trinity of DC.
So, based on my very limited knowledge, I think the only established character I would actually bring in is Batman. In phase 1.
Yes.
I'd consider
Yes.
I'd consider a Wonder Woman, and I'd consider Superman if I had liberty to completely reinvent his character for a phase 2 or phase 3. But for phase 1, establishing like low level, more human type conflict,
characters.
I'd pick Batman, and then I don't know. I'm sure there's
Blue
other
Beetle
good
would be
ones.
kind of cool, but he would be in the same vein as Batman, except he wouldn't be as mentally troubled.
What about like Green Arrow?
Green Arrow would work too. He'd be like along the same lines as Batman, except he'd be more in the vein of Iron Man, like he's a little more brash and a touch arrogant, but he's an archer. So that'd be cool.
I think that'd be pretty cool. Deathstroke.
Terminator, of course. Deathstroke is great. He's weak enough to where you can make a story about him. He's strong enough to be a badass.
What if he's a hero initially, and his movie in phase 1 turns him into a villain?
They could do that. Deathstroke's very old, so you can establish that he's a hero. He was a hero from back in the day, and something changed him. You know?
Okay, what if phase 1 centered a lot on Ra's al Ghul and what's that organization called? His organization?
League of
League of
Shadows.
League of Shadows.
Takes place in the
Assassins.
1600s.
Yeah.
Does
No,
that
it
bring?
doesn't have to take place in the
Why
1600s.
not? That'd be sick. They
It
never
would
done
be-
something like that.
Would be kind of cool.
It'd be a great
even,
flashback.
even if you just did some of that as like
Why not?
peppering it in.
I love Ra's al Ghul, by the way.
Same.
Yeah, he's a cool character.
He's amazing.
He's fantastic.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Could you
I mean,
imagine?
from the little
He's
I've
Alex
seen
with a cape.
of him.
Can you imagine making that character with the like Sherlock Holmes kind of archetype? Make it like a fast paced Sherlock kind of movie taking place like in the 1700s, and he's actually a protagonist, and just because of being betrayed by maybe a partner or a situation,
Yeah.
X and Y happen or something. I mean, you could do all kinds
And
of
this
stuff.
happened in like 1700.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I mean,
And
there's
then
so
he's
many.
still
there's-
alive when we
like,
get
come on,
back to
DC, you
2015.
use some creativity, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's okay. It's okay to do that.
So what I'm gathering is we should really design the DCU.
I think you guys would be better for, you know,
I think
for the story.
they need someone like me to play devil's advocate in the room. To be like, that's stupid. Let's do something else.
I like that.
Like, just because it's the source material doesn't mean we should do it.
True. I agree 100%.
It always comes off. Well, no, I mean, and source material is good, but like, it's not like they're using source material either. That you have to remember. I mean,
Oh, they aren't?
no,
I just kind of assumed they were being pretty faithful.
think of it this way. The MCU has made modifications to the source material, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they've pulled in primary driving conflicts to get us from phase 1 through phase 3 that are from the original content. Even if you make modifications, the highlighting conflicts and events are still from the original content. What has DC done?
Well, I'm getting at less at what have they done and what could they do.
No, I agree with you, but what I'm saying is they can even fall back on the original content, like DC content
as like a main story.
as great. They haven't even done that. They've just keep redoing like Batman and Superman. I'm like, what are you like? That's not enough.
Yeah, because they're not.
Like Wonder Woman was, in my opinion, wasn't even.
Wonder Woman was
It was
cool.
decent.
It was cool, and it was. I mean, like
I'd give that movie a solid 7.5.
you still got Martian Manhunter and other cool characters that are like mainstream DC characters that you could create a movie around. You don't have to deviate from the original content. They're good enough. Now, what I am gonna say is, aside from like deviating from the original content, I think the DC cinematic universe needs to understand the tone that they want their movies to portray
and follow it.
So, are you going to compete with Marvel, or are you going to differentiate yourself?
I would differentiate.
No
myself.
shit.
Yeah,
I'd pick
No
a
shit.
they're probably not going to.
And
I'd
that's
pick
why
a more serious.
and
vibe.
that's why Marvel is easier.
Yeah.
But that's okay. So it's all right to put your thinking caps on and spend a little more time writing some quality stories for DC characters. I know it's going to be hard at first.
Are you saying Marvel stories are easier to write than DC as far as movies are concerned?
Well,
as far as the audience,
I think he's getting at the MCU is easier.
Yes.
To write because they've written comedy into it, which you can use to like a little bit of tasteful comedy during the movie is just an instant extra point.
You can
The characters aren't all like larger than life, except for like Thor.
in this conversation, Frank can give us solid insight on which content sources would generate better movies, or movies that are more easily digestible, or safer movies, whatever, right? But like regarding to Millen's point, just like creating movies that incorporate the content, which ones would generally be easier or better? Like, yeah, like I think Marvel has more characters, more diverse set of characters that are well known by the audience. True. They're more like flamboyant characters, if you will, more flair to them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
you know what I mean? I don't know.
So you're saying it's harder to write about the Justice League versus the Avengers, or make a movie?
I
could see it.
I could buy that.
I mean, there's also a lot of similarities across DC characters. I found.
What do you mean?
It's like several billionaires.
Yeah, I was actually, that's what I wanted to go talk to you about, and I just forgot it when I was talking about the Justice League characters. Superman has his own fortress with like advanced alien technology. He probably doesn't even need to eat, so he's in a whole nother bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman, princess, obviously has everything she needs.
Yeah,
other bracket. Batman, billionaire, one of the richest people on the planet. Obviously, Green Arrow, same. Flash, a CSI. I'm pretty sure they make good money.
They are right.
You've discussed this to me before.
For his money, but
yes. Millen Frank has discussed this to me like a long time ago, where like DC, based on what he's gathered, like DC has a set of characters that are all incredibly like well off and incredibly capable in their own respective crafts, but then they have like internal struggles that are like their real struggles. So like they're all the best at what they do.
Yes.
Versus in Marvel, that's not always the case.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure all the Avengers get a stipend, but it's like $2,000 a month.
Are you serious?
It's got to be more than that.
Are you serious?
I'm dead ass.
No. He is right, because I know that they're all getting paid for being them. I think it's more than that, though.
I'm pretty sure it was $2,000 a month last time I checked. That was old. I could be right.
I mean, you can't.
Wrong. But then again, it doesn't matter because Tony,
in the
like
MCU anyway. I
Tony,
think it's higher.
Oh no, I'm talking about in the comics.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you might be right.
Like, guys, remember Spider-Man still got bills.
Yeah.
He's still trying to pay his rent.
Yeah.
I mean, now he's doing a little better. He like runs a company and stuff. But historically, Spider-Man like never had any money. Who else? The only one who really had money was like
Captain
Tony.
America.
He's a soldier. He ain't giving him no check. GI Bill ass.
Well, what's he gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, what does he do in his off time?
He has no off time. That's what Ultron said. Pretending like you could live in a world without war. Captain America doesn't do anything besides being Captain America.
That's what I mean. So he's got to be paid for being Captain America, so he can live.
Yeah, he get.
I mean, he's got his like room and board at the Avengers facility.
He get $1,200.
So
I'm just kidding. Buy a Philly every now and again. They typed in with biophilia.
Wow.
He's an artist too. I don't know if you guys know that. He wanted to draw or something. Steve Rogers.
It's cool.
I'm like, yeah, okay.
And then once he got superpowers, he couldn't hold a pencil anymore.
Yeah.
It just broke every time he tried to write.
Breaking each pencil.
Yeah.
Open a drawer.
He tries to make a small line, just goes across the whole page.
Hello.
He just keeps drawing like Hulk, like butt ass naked. That's an American ass.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
No, we got on 3 tangents, but as far as Phase 4, am I missing any movies? We're missing a few.
I think we are.
Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Multiverse
yeah.
of Madness, right?
I'm excited for that.
I think Scarlet Witch is going to be in that one too, so that's cool.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the only movie that I really want to see, I mean, I'll probably see them all, but the one that I specifically want to see is As Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's the other one, right?
Oh yeah, that should be good.
Yeah.
That should be fun.
I don't know.
Will Thor be in it?
I'm not sure if it's a thing though. I know there's a Guardians of the Galaxy
Volume 3.
They should just call it As Guardians of the Galaxy and add Thor.
As Guardians of the Galaxy is totally
So
misleading
boring.
because there's only one As Guardian.
I know, but that's the whole point.
I guess.
It's an ego trip for Thor. That's the whole joke at the
I
end.
know.
He's fighting with Star-Lord for control of his ship.
It's like, bro, I'm a fucking celestial.
Yeah. He's like, this is my ship. It's like, you sure about that?
I know. Is it?
Last time I checked, I think I'm the one who's most respected in this room.
No, disrespectful. Can anybody pull it up? I don't know.
I'm still thinking about DC and like what they can do to even keep up.
All right. Well, we're at like an hour 20 at this
Yeah.
point. I don't think we're going to crack this problem in another 5 minutes here.
You're right.
So we'll have to save it for another episode.
Oh no, another episode after dark.
You know After Dark. All right. Well, any final thoughts you want to throw in there in the last 2 minutes?
I just want to say I have faith in Phase 4. I don't think it'll be the biggest phase. I think it might be just something to hold us over until we get, Marvel's first family and the Children of the Atom. But I'm still here for it. Whatever.
Okay. I'm behind that too. They've earned my respect at this point.
Exactly. If you don't think they're gonna do well, then you're ignoring everything that they've done.
Yeah.
I agree with you. This might be the biggest franchise with the most amount of moving parts, and yet they've still managed to somehow like continuously deliver. So
Yeah, that's why Sony mad.
I mean, everyone's mad.
Oh yeah, we didn't even touch on that. Oof. I'll have to say that one for another episode too.
Save it for another episode, guys.
God damn. Well, my last final thought, I just want to reiterate that Superman is a shit character. And I'm never going to let this go.
I mean, I've been telling Frank this for like 10 years.
I'm trying to think of a good Superman story
There isn't
for
one.
rebuttal. There's
Are there any about him being
There's
dead?
no way. Yeah. Unless there's
Might be
one where
true.
like some crazy alien force comes and like could actually kill him. It's not going to be good.
Even if that were the case, though, the problem I have with Superman is it's not like he's going to lose, like, run from the situation or go into hiding or like excommunicate himself, train or overcome something, and then revisit that conflict and overcome it.
Yeah, it's
That's
not going to be The Dark Knight Rises.
Or any movie like Rocky 3 or anything like that, right? It's not going to be that. He's going to go like sleep in the sun and come back and like kill that villain. Like that's his way of solving stuff. Like, I have this other power that was dormant at the time.
He's going to microdose some kryptonite and come back and stronger.
You know, like there's no training, there's no like overcoming problems. It's just realizing that he had another tool that he forgot about because of plot. No, that's like I
No,
fucking
you're
hate
100%
this
right.
character
100%
so fucking much.
You're 100%
Trivializes other movies and other characters.
All right, I think that's a good way to end here. Everyone
Superman, y'all.
you have to tune in next week to hear our real feelings about Superman.
I know.
All right, see you guys. Thank you for listening to the SpyFy After Dark podcast. I know I enjoyed this episode, and I hope you did too. If you did, please consider rating or subscribing on whatever platform you're on. We'd really appreciate it. Next week, I talk with my friend John about music, gaming, and all kinds of fun stuff. If you'd like to be notified of that episode, you can follow me on Twitter at Millan Tweets. That's MILLAN Tweets. Till next time.
He should start that. He should start that.
I'm
No. It's just
SpyFy After Dark.
Wow.
Just cutting out the competition. Thanos.
No, it's some ratchet ass. It's just like Migos or something like that. It's
Like XXX or something. Like, why?
Mama told me not to sell work. SpyFy After Dark.
Man, I should just hire you as my producers.
It's just Tekashi 69, like screaming, right? And it's like, all right, I'm back to our political debate.
Fuck your
Now,
Intermission.
Intermission. Is UBI irrelevant?
Sponsored by Squarespace.